Um, my name is Stephen Jaffe. I'm the president of Democrats of the Desert. This is an endorsement meeting in which we consider and hopefully endorse there's two different lists that I will submit to the members. The two lists have been put into the chat. If for some reason they were in all the notices, but if you for some reason don't have the notice or didn't get it, I assume you got it because you're here, you can go into the chat and see the two lists. Let me explain the difference between the two lists. The first list is a list of candidates who have been endorsed by the state party. And therefore, under our rules, we are required to either endorse them, or more specifically, we cannot endorse anybody else in that race. I think I'm going to submit it to the members so that we endorse the list of candidates for the state party endorsement. The second list is a list of people who were not endorsed by the state party, but we have an endorsement committee which consists of myself and Michael Finland. Steve Brooks is an honorary member of that just this year. Steve had a health issue and wasn't able to actively participate. But as I have been telling people, we had a very easy job on the endorsement recommendations this year. And the reason for that is, with one exception, all of the people we are recommending for endorsement are the sole Democrats running in their race. So it didn't take a lot of thinking to figure out who in that race we should endorse. I believe I've talked to every one of the people on the list at least once or more, and I'm very comfortable making the recommendation. So before I take off and start doing some other business, I want to read the list quickly to everybody so you all know who we're discussing here. The list of people who have been endorsed by the state party are as follows. Dr. Ruiz in CD 25. Steve Padilla is running for the state Senate, 18. Eduardo Garcia, the state assembly, 36. Christy Holstad is running for assembly district 47. Here was one we had a little trouble with. Gavin Newsom is running for governor of the state. I was being facetious, obviously. Ron Bonta for attorney general. Elena Kounalakis for lieutenant governor. Malia Cohn, who is here. Hello, Malia. For state controller. Ricardo Lara for insurance commissioner. And Shirley Weber is running for secretary of state. I will be submitting that slate for member endorsement solely as a slate. So the list of people who we are recommending for endorsement is as follows. Manny Perez, who is, I think, here. Hello, Supervisor. Thank you. Will Rollins is in the only contested primary with another Democrat, and I'm going to leave that off to the end and explain why we're recommending for his endorsement. Denny Antoinette Manzingo is running for Riverside County Supervisor, District 5. Judge Bert Strumsky, the sitting judge, is running to be district attorney. Laura Garcia is running for the Riverside County Superior Court. Elizabeth Romero is running for the Riverside County Board of Education, Trustee Area 6. And Francisco Navarro is running for a seat on the Riverside County Superior Court bench, seat number 28. And we will be recommending that list of people. With respect to CD 41, which is a new congressional district, Presently, the incumbent is Ken Calvert, pretty hardcore Republican. We've had a lot of contact from Will Rollins' campaign. We reached out to the other Democratic candidates, but regrettably and unfortunately, we really didn't hear anything back. I want to make it clear that had we heard something back or shown an interest in talking to our club, we surely would have opened the door and provided that opportunity. But under the present circumstances, our recommendation now is to recommend Will Rollins in District in CD 41. So with that said, I'm going to go down the list here and use the list as my guide for the order that people are going to speak. So what?
Can I ask a quick question?
Okay. Yes.
Quick question. Did so
yes.
CDP didn't take any action on CD 41?
No, it was a no consent. There was no decision made on it. And after that, after the convention, that is when Brandon Mosley withdrew and has come out in support of Will Rollins.
Okay, so but
and I want to personally applaud Mosley as a real that's
Absolutely.
a really class act.
Yes,
That was a
okay, so we're not in conflict with CDP because they had no consensus.
there was no consent
That's
on the
correct.
calendar.
Okay.
A quick reminder, though, you don't have also endorsed was for United States Senate was Alex Padilla.
Oh yes. We'll certainly add him.
Please.
Sorry, that was inadvertent. So
I should say so.
okay. All right. So is Christy, are you here? Christy's not here. I'm gonna move on. I don't think the governor or the attorney general is here. Malia, you are here. Malia, are you here?
Yes, Mr. Jaffe, I'm here.
Yes. I remember we had a lot of contact when you were on the Board of Supervisors and I was in San Francisco. Could you take just a minute, I would say about 2 minutes, to talk about your campaign, please?
Yeah, sure. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for giving me a few minutes.
Excuse me, before you start, if everyone could mute themselves, because we're getting background.
Thank you.
Thank you. So my name is Malia, and you heard from Mr. Jaffe. I spent 8 years on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, and I am in my 3rd year on my first term on the California Board of Equalization. I am grateful for those of you that did support me at the Democratic Party nominating convention. We did earn the Democratic Party endorsement. We earned 62.3%, which is not bad. And my campaign is up, operational, and running. We have a strong campaign. We're actively raising money and increasing our name identification. So I'm really grateful for platforms like this that allows me to connect with people. So I actually came by today to thank the Democrats of the Desert for your support and hope to remain in contact with you. I hope this is only the beginning of Zoom meetings that we could begin to have on a fairly regular and consistent basis, just to make sure that there are lines of communication that are open. And I'm grateful for your support. Mr. Jaffe, if there's anything that you specifically want me to speak to, just ask and let me know.
Well, we meet once a month, Malia, and you are welcome anytime that we meet. I'll add you to the mailing list, and you'll know about when that happens. So all Democrats are open. Our doors are open. I don't, because I know you, I don't personally have any questions. Does anyone have any questions they wish to ask Malia about her campaign? If so, please raise your hand. I don't know if I have to. I don't see any.
Mr. Jaffe, I see Steve has a question, but before we get to you, Steve, hold on. Would I be able to, what is the best way for me to communicate with members here? Should I send them to my website and, you kind of, so we can email you the press releases and the updates, or shall I?
If you send your emails and press releases to me,
Okay,
I will
disseminate.
blast them out. I will blast them out to our membership.
Okay, that's perfect. That's
All right.
exactly
And,
what I wanted to know.
If you don't
Okay,
have
Mr. Steve. Mr. Steve.
you have
Brooks,
my
what's on your mind?
email. You have my email, yes?
I'm sure I could get it. If you.
President@desertdemocrats.org.
Say it again.
Yeah, I'm happy to send it to you as well.
Oh, okay, good. I didn't see you, Melissa. Great. Yeah, Melissa will make sure that we stay connected. Thank you.
Okay.
you.
Well,
I
I
appreciate
was just going to ask, do you see things that you want to do differently than what's been going on in the controller's office?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Are there changes you would make, or, things you want to remedy, or how would you be different is what I guess I'm wondering.
There's a handful of ways that I would be different. First,
las llaves del carro.
I think someone has a phone call that is, okay, I think I get it now. So what I'd like to do differently is the controller runs the unclaimed property program, and unclaimed property used to advertise, this division used to advertise in different newspapers saying, hey, if you've lost some money or you check out the unclaimed property, I like to begin to advertise in multiple languages in statewide papers that go into print in English, Chinese, Spanish, Tagalog, any other language. That's something that she has opted not to do. And I think it's important to target the ethnic media and bring them into the fold in the dissemination of the information for the controller's office. That's one thing. The second thing I would be interested in figuring out, there's one report in particular that never gets reported out on time. I don't know if you've ever Googled it, but I don't understand why the reports aren't made in a prompt nature. So making sure that the quarterly and the annual reports that the controller puts out, just talking about the economic state for the state of California, that they're out there in a timely fashion so that taxpayers as well as business owners are be able to build their business and their projections on the projections that the state of California is expecting. Yeah. Okay. Well, Melissa, I just want to give you a shout out. Thank you for bringing me to this group. I appreciate it. And Democrats of the Desert, I hope that we'll be able to get together in person one day. That would be fun.
Thank you, Malia.
Hey, Mike, it's good to see you again.
Thank you. Supervisor Perez, are you still here? I think
I am, Stephen.
I would, can we give you a few, can we talk you into saying a few words about your unopposed by a Democrat campaign?
Sure, I pulled over. I'm actually just leaving Blythe. And we just had a march rally on behalf of behavioral health, mental health services, and the prevention of suicide. Unfortunately, there was one recently, and that's why we came together. And I am running unopposed, and I am running again. And the reason why I decided to run again is because I still feel that my job is not done, and that we need to continuously, consistently improve the delivery of services such as behavioral health, such as ensuring the infrastructure that's necessary so that people have access to clean drinking water, such as the issues around homelessness and overall housing, Salton Sea concerns, the list goes on and on. But after 18 years of policymaking and 10 contested campaigns, I'm finally at a place where I have no opposition for the first time in my history. And I just want to say thank you to Democrats in the Desert for all the good work you've done with me, always supported me. And I think that the fact that I am unopposed has to do with the infrastructure that we've built over the course of all these years. And I definitely credit the organizations like yourselves and my staff for being out there and taking the hits alongside with me. So I just want to say thank you. Although I am running unopposed, I still ask for your endorsement because it matters to me.
Supervisor, thank you very much. I will assure you that the Dems of the Desert stand behind you, and we will do everything we can to assure you an overwhelming landslide
I have a que-
in your unopposed election.
Thank you so much.
I have a question.
Yes, Marcy?
Yes, thank you Supervisor Perez. Good to meet you. And congratulations on your election coming up. Since, from what I understand, that one of the most difficult things for you in doing your job is the fact that we don't have a Democratic majority on the supervisor count. And so I'm wondering how you can help us ensure that that happens with this next election and how we can help with that also.
Sure, you're absolutely right. Although it is a nonpartisan seat, obviously there are issues that come our way in which we have to dig deep into our values and lean on our democratic values for that matter. And currently, I'm probably the more, I don't know, maybe a little bit more progressive Democrat. Chuck is also a Democrat. But I do feel that in this election cycle, there is a vulnerability in the 5th district. And I know that there are 2 Democrats that are running for that seat. And I do believe that that seat is a winnable seat. And how I can be helpful is, I have already provided some funds to certain individuals, to judges, to others that are running for school boards, and eventually I'll be providing some monies to Democratic groups as well. But I think that's how I'm able to be helpful. The fact that I don't have a campaign to run, I got a little bit of money that I can share, a little bit of resources I can provide in order for us to make sure that we get that majority.
Thank you very much, Supervisor. We look forward to celebrating your election.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm going to move on to the U.S. congressional races. We have 2 people to speak. Is anyone here from Dr. Ruiz's campaign? Did I see Griffin here? Griffin, are you here? I saw you here.
Yeah, I think Griffin is here, but I'm Andy. Andy Colgan. I work for the congressman's campaign.
Oh, all right. I didn't realize you were double teaming us. Okay, Andy, please
Yes,
take a few
thank
minutes
you.
to talk about the campaign, please.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. I was the congressman's campaign manager in the 2018 cycle, so I haven't been to a Democrats of the Desert meeting for a few years, but it's nice to be back and to renew my membership. But yeah, the congressman is running in California's 25th congressional district, which I know many of you are disappointed that he doesn't have the opportunity to represent you if you live in that part of the district, the current 36th. But the nice thing is that we have some good candidates running in the 41st, and he's excited to help make sure that Ken Calvert does not represent the 41st district in Congress, and will be there for the Democratic Party for sure, and for the candidate. So we're looking forward to that. But as far as the congressman's race goes, there are currently 6 Republicans who are running against him. We don't really know which one will be the one that he'll be running against in the fall, but obviously he's in a good position to win re-election. So he's really going to focus on introducing himself to the new voters that he's going to represent. Mostly that includes Imperial County. He's hoping to represent all of them in Congress next year. And then also helping Democrats, down the ballot, up and down the ballot, to make sure that they're winning in seats like the 41st, with Christie running for the assembly. So we're excited to help across the board and to make sure that Democrats are winning and representing. Just a little bit about what he's been doing recently. Obviously, he just came back from a humanitarian trip with the House Foreign Affairs Committee in Poland. He was there for a couple days on the front lines in Poland. And, I'm sure a lot of you probably read and saw about his trip there, but I know that he is a lot for him. So other than that, he's currently serves as the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, which gives him a lot of exposure to the administration, which is good for this district, and getting him in contact with leadership. And besides that, he's been working really hard on for many years on the burn pits legislation, which passed in the House earlier this month. They're currently waiting for the Senate to take it up, but he's hopeful about that and is working his contacts in the Senate and the caucus there to make sure that's a priority. And President Biden mentioned that in his State of the Union speech. And the congressman is still hopeful and continuing to work on a Build Back Better plan, or at least pieces of that we can accomplish with those Democratic senators that have held out a little bit. But besides that, I don't know if anyone has any questions, but obviously, very, very honored to have the endorsement of the California Democratic Party, of Governor Newsom, Senator Padilla, and of course the Democrats of the Desert. So Griffin's on the ground in the district. And I live in Los Angeles, but travel to the district often. So hopeful to see all of you in person someday. And yeah, that's all I have. Thanks. Thanks, Stephen.
I have one question, and then
Yes.
I see another hand.
I'll do my best.
The district that Dr. Ruiz is now running in contains areas that he has never represented before.
Correct.
And my question is, how is the campaign? How does the campaign intend to essentially introduce Dr. Ruiz to people who may not have had a lot of contact or familiarity with him in those
Sure.
areas?
Yeah, so it's basically 25% of the district will be new for the congressman, and most of that is just in representing all of Imperial County, which goes all the way down to the border. And yeah, so the primary is obviously just a couple months away. So there will be some investment in Imperial County and in the western part, the LA media market, because there's a lot of Democrats there that we always like to turn out. But we will have a ground game in Imperial, and then we'll go. There's different platforms that will be, introducing him to voters. But obviously, part of that too is a pretty significant volunteer effort. So we'll be ramping that up probably about 6 weeks out. The ballots drop May 9th, and so we'll probably start a pretty aggressive field operation a couple weeks before that. To introduce him to voters there. But in addition to him, getting there in person, obviously he doesn't currently represent that part of the district in Congress, but on the campaign side of things, he is, has already been to Imperial County to introduce himself to community leaders there, to the Democratic Party, to labor, and he'll continue to do that going forward. So. And was there another question?
You.
Yes.
Anyone else got a raised hand here? Let me see. I don't see any. Andy, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. I'm going to move to another congressional district now, which is CD 41. We have a candidate, Will Rollins. Will, I saw your name. But
yes, I'm here.
There you are.
Yes.
Yes.
Hey,
Hi, Will.
everybody.
Your turn to talk about yourself a little bit and just take a few minutes to talk about your campaign, please.
Great. So hi, everybody. It's good to see everyone again. As many of you know, I'm Will Rollins. I'm a former federal prosecutor. I helped prosecute some of the people who attacked the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. I entered this race because I believe that Ken Calvert is a threat to our democracy. And before I share some campaign updates, I thought I would just talk really briefly about two issues this week that have made me really proud to be a Democrat. One is the president's presence today in Poland and the speech that he just gave about NATO, because Democrats are the party of NATO. And to steal a line from Congressman Swalwell, who I saw last weekend at an event, 100% of Democrats are Zelensky Democrats, and 50% of Republicans are Putin Republicans. And man, am I proud to be in the party of Zelensky Democrats. So I encourage everybody to take a look at the president's speech today in Poland. That was pretty incredible, and very proud to be part of that party. The second reason that I'm proud to be a Democrat this week, Judge Jackson's performance in the Senate under misogynistic, racist questioning from Republican senators. She showed remarkable grit, grace, and intellect. And I am incredibly proud to be a member of the same political party. And she just did an incredible job performing in the Senate this week, and I'm really looking forward to her confirmation. I think the other thing I wanted to talk about for some updates this week, had some great endorsements. Congresswoman Jackie Spear just endorsed me last week. Congressman Mark Takano has endorsed me. U.S. Senator Barbara Boxer has endorsed me. Congressman Brad Sherman, Congressman Mike Levin. So a lot of members of the California delegation whose support I'm incredibly proud to have. We're also on track to break the all-time record for any Democrat against Ken Calvert ever for an entire congressional cycle in fundraising.
Good.
So not just a quarterly record, but the entire record. And that's after just about 4 or 5 months in the race. So that's thanks to support from people like you. Thank you for the delegates for voting for me. I came within 1 vote of the 60%, but then thank you, of course, to Brandon Mosley too, for having the grace to drop out, and the commitment to our party to make sure that 2 Republicans did not advance in November. So I'm incredibly grateful to have his support, and would love to earn your endorsement today too. So thank you again for everything, and look forward to seeing everybody in person soon.
Well, we are recommending your endorsement, and I'm sure that that will be something you'll be getting for the close of the meeting here, Will. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask Will about CD 41? Marcy has her hand up.
Mhm. Good to see you again, Will. Thank
You
you
too.
for being here. So winning the election is job number 1. And oftentimes in years that aren't presidential years, we don't see the Democrats turn out so much. And I think that that's probably one of the most important things for your campaign in particular, is to make sure that Democrats turn out in both the primary and the general election. I'd like to know what your plan is to do that. And of course, we would likely want to be part of that team along the way, but candidates have to have a plan with that.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned it, because you're right. Every midterm in the old 42nd congressional district, the rate of turnout actually dropped by about 150 to 200,000 votes per midterm cycle. And so I think the good news for Democrats is that we've got about 132,000 voters in the Coachella Valley who have never been represented by Ken Calvert before. They were represented by a great congressman, Congressman Ruiz. And the 132,000 people who are now in the 41st, those are the folks who I think we can get really excited about my history-making candidacy. If I'm elected, I'd be the second openly gay guy in the House from California. Gotten a ton of volunteers. I think we already have 150 people who have signed up to knock on doors for us. I actually launched my campaign with John Ossoff's field director from his 2017 race in Georgia, where he almost flipped that House seat. She laid an incredible groundwork for our field team and for building out an operation that is designed to do exactly that, which is get turnout as high as possible this midterm. And so we're also using, we've had some great volunteers from the data science space who are looking at the Dem Plus number for this congressional district. So for those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically a list of voters who were previously registered Democrats or who requested a Democratic primary ballot when we still had a top 2 system in this state, who have subsequently changed to no party preference, because statistically, those are the most likely voters for Democratic candidates. And so our field game and our ground game is going to be designed on how do we reach those no party preference voters in the midterm and get them excited to turn out. And if you'd be willing to help us out, we would really appreciate you signing up on our website for our email updates, because that's going to be the way that we are going to coordinate our field team and our volunteers. And we've got some really great folks on our campaign team working on just that as we speak.
Thank you.
Well, we are certainly willing to help you out, to answer your question. We'll do whatever we can to assist getting Democratic voters out in this very important election. So anybody else have a question that they'd like to ask Will? Robert, I see you waving your hand. You need to unmute.
There we go.
Yes.
I see Andy's still here. Will, have you been speaking to Dr. Ruiz about getting his endorsement? Because he is currently my congressman, but I'm one of that group that's switching over. And I think his endorsement would be most helpful in the primary.
I would, of course, be very honored to have his endorsement. And he's somebody who I've looked up to for a long time. And he has given me some great advice. We've had the chance to sit down a couple times. And honestly, I am incredibly grateful to him for all of the guidance and advice that he's given to me in the campaign so far. And I'm hoping that he and I can meet again soon too. And I can chat about a possible endorsement as soon as possible, because I think you're right that that would be super helpful. And he's just been a great leader for our community. And I'm very, very appreciative of the advice that he's already given to me, and would love to follow in his footsteps for sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Any other questions for Will before we move along? Well, thank you, Will. I look forward to seeing you many more times in the future as a candidate and possibly a congressman. Thank you. Is Assemblyman Garcia still here?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Yes.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, your picture that you have up here reminds me of the lawyer that tried to make a court appearance about a year ago and somehow got showed up
Cat.
as a cat. Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, could you please share what's going on with your campaign and give us a few words, please.
Happy to do that. Thank you so much for the consideration to receive the Democratic of the Desert endorsement. It's a really important endorsement for us, given the influence that you have in our district, Coachella Valley specifically. I'm driving from the San Manuel Reservation on my way to the Hemet area to meet with some Democrats that now are part of the new 36th Assembly District. I'll be meeting some of them for the first time. But as that relates to our re-election, we have an exciting opportunity to continue, one, bringing home the money, and two, pushing progressive public policy on all fronts, whether it be climate, whether it be education, criminal justice, and the things that are extremely important to us in our district are economic development opportunities in and around salton sea restoration and mitigation, and making sure that as these conversations about lithium recovery are taking place, that the people from the Salton Sea, Imperial County, and around the areas are the direct beneficiaries of this work. This work was highlighted by the president and the governor several weeks ago with a good Democrat joining them, Sylvia Paz, talking about the importance of making sure that these decisions and these opportunities are driven by the community. And I get to play a strong role at the state capitol on this. I was recently appointed to the Utilities and Energy Committee, and that committee will have a tremendous influence on how this all plays out. I'll tell you that our district changed just a little bit. We go up to Needles, we go up to the Western Riverside County area, but I still see a tremendous opportunity for us to continue in the role of an assembly member for the Coachella Imperial Valley areas. I also see a great opportunity in picking up that Chad May seat with Christy Holstage. I see a great opportunity with us being able to pick up this additional congressional representative seat in the Coachella Valley and have a stronger presence and influence in Washington, D.C., as we know we will in Sacramento with Christy coming along. We got some great candidates that you're all considering to endorse, candidates running for judges, candidates running for district attorney, and other down ticket candidates. And I'm happy to be able to support Democrats of the Desert to be able to help them get elected. So I'll stop there. Happy to answer any questions. In full transparency, I am at the Starbucks line getting ready to order something so I can get to Hemet on time and and alive and well to meet some Democrats out there for the first time. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, I'm going to push the pause button here and interrupt our progress because we have a special guest, a surprise guest, who just arrived in the room, the Lieutenant Governor of the state of California, Eleni Koulidakis. And I'm going to start out here I'm going to digress to something a little personal. Back in 2018, when I was running for US Congress, I bought a booth at the state convention, and Eleni and I both had booths side by side, and got to spend about 4 days talking to each other, and I got to meet her family. And your sons must be teenagers by now. I remember they were younger boys, but we know each other from that. So we are honored to have you here. Thank you so much for attending. We realize you're very busy. And if you'd like to just take a few words to talk about where your campaign is and anything else you'd like to say to us.
Well, Steve, I'd be happy to, but before I do, I just want to make sure that the assemblyman was finished.
Oh, I'm going to return to the assemblyman.
Oh, I see. Okay,
you're
so
done.
he's going to get his coffee at
Oh, no,
Starbucks
yes,
and then
no.
and then come back. Great.
Oh, yes, no. Well,
That sounds like a great plan. Well, it's
Yeah.
wonderful to see you all. It's great to be here, Stephen. Gosh, it's hard to believe that was 4 years ago.
yes.
My boys were campaigning for me very vigorously. They're now in college, freshman and sophomore in college, but their pitch was, can I tell you some things about Eleni Koulidakis, candidate for lieutenant governor? And people would say, well, sure. What can you tell me? And they would say, well, you know, she's a really good mom.
Right.
The best campaign pitch. And I love my boys and so grateful that they were out there. Well, this time I'm running for reelection. And I will say, just going back to Stephen, to that convention, I'd never run for public office before. I'd served in public office. I was US ambassador in Hungary. But when I decided to do it, I headed out and I went to all 58 counties of California. And my guide were the central committees and the members of the California Democratic Party district by district. You know, some of these rural areas, I didn't know anybody. And so the first people I called to go sit down with and talk to and hear from were members of the CDP delegates and central committee members. And it was really important because I got 58 counties worth of stories and experiences and concerns and ideas. And when we were at convention and everyone said, look, you're running against a sitting state senator, don't even try. He's going to get the CDP endorsement. And I said, well, wait a sec. I met a lot of people out on the road. I worked for the CDP as a paid staffer back in 1992. I want to make my case. And I got over 1,000 votes and really nipped right at the heels of the senator, stopped the endorsement, and basically have just been plowing straight ahead. So I was so honored to get the endorsement of this CDP a few weeks ago with 94% of the vote, something like that. I'm going to go after that last 6%. I don't know who they are, but I'm going to find them and make my case. But I love our party infrastructure. And so I look at all of you, all these squares, and I know there's a story behind each and every one of you, something that drove you to get involved and participate. And I just want to recognize that, you know, you may support elected officials at the state level and the local level, but you yourselves are leaders. And thank you for being leaders in your community and organizers to organize our democratic support. So very briefly, in the 3.5 years that I have been your lieutenant governor, I have been very focused on public higher education. I sit on the UC and the CSU boards That has been the job of the lieutenant governor for a long time. The governor and I worked together on a bill. Now the lieutenant governor also sits on the community college board of governors. I am the only person to sit on all 3 boards of public higher education in the state. This was deliberate. It goes to my own story. My grandmother in Greece never learned to read, never learned to write. Neither of my husband's grandmothers ever learned to read. It was just not available to women of our grandmother's era in Greece, in and around the Second World War. But my father came here, started out as a farm worker, went to Sac State, paid $62 a semester, including books. And his ability to get an education changed the trajectory of his life and my life and our entire family. That is part of my family story that I was raised with, that I live with. It is the pathway of the California dream. And it is an incredible honor for me to work in and around the sphere of public higher education in our state. Second, I'm on the State Lands Committee. I promised that I would fight Trump's efforts to expand offshore drilling. Not only did we stop him, but we have less offshore drilling off our coast today than we did 4 years ago when I was running. Some of these legacy oil production rigs, they're very rickety. They don't have the companies that own them or one asset companies. They're not, it's a dangerous situation out there. You know, we had a terrible oil leak a few months ago, and working very hard to continue to reduce the amount of drilling and make sure that whatever has a right to continue, because we can't, you know, we're looking at ways to maybe buy them out and all of that. But in the meantime, that they are operating at the highest possible standards that we can put in place. And then finally, the governor asked me to serve as his representative for international affairs and trade, combating climate change and transitioning to a carbon-free energy future is a big part of my portfolio, both at the State Lands Commission in the environmental space, but also as the governor's representative in international affairs and trade. At the last minute, he could not go to Glasgow. I led the California delegation to the COP26. You would have been so proud at the reception that California has in the room because of the work we do in this state. So finally, I'm the first woman ever elected lieutenant governor of California, and I get to use my platform as a place to promote equity and representation for traditionally underrepresented groups. I started the first, or I guess it's the first trans council of its kind. Again, these are incredible activists. This is their space that I've given them room on my platform. They themselves are leaders and organizers, and I help to bring stakeholders to the group for conversation, to share ideas and to learn from one another. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. You can see maybe, hold on. It's my palm tree. We have a vacation place here in the desert. My husband and I love it here. I see my dear friend, Melissa Fox. We have been just gushing as new well, for me anyway, part-time Palm Springs resident, how much this community and this magical place that is the California desert certainly means to me and to my family. So it's great. It's just really great to be able to be here so much.
Well, as a new resident of the Coachella Valley, we look forward to you joining Democrats of the Desert as a member. I'm sure that's first on your list. Yes.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Stephen, send me the link. I'll pay my dues.
All right. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the Lieutenant Governor? I'm seeing. Well, thank you so much for coming here. Appreciate it. It's nice to see you again. And I'm sure we'll be in contact in the future to help out your campaign. Thank you, Lieutenant. You're welcome to stay and listen and talk and contribute if you'd like.
Well, I'm, as you can imagine, lots of endorsement Zooms going on
Yes.
over the weekend. But I just want to thank you all. I hope to have your vote and your support coming up on this election. There are probably, it looks like 6 people who are running against me. None of them are currently sitting in elected office. None of them seem to have the resources to mobilize. But as you know, you cannot take anything for granted. So we're going to be running a robust campaign. And I hope to see you all out on the campaign trail soon.
Yeah. Well, we will be endorsing you later, and we're here to help. So I want to assure you of that.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. I want to, as promised, we cut off the Assemblyman Garcia, and I want to make sure if anyone has any questions or that Assemblyman, if you have anything further to say, Patrick, I see your hand.
Mr. President, I'll just say that if you're going to be cut off, let it be by the first lieutenant governor-elect, that's a woman, and someone who we were very proud to be with at the COP26 in Glasgow this year. She did an excellent job representing.
I apologize for cutting your time in half, but on the other hand, you now get 2 opportunities to speak. So.
No.
Yes.
I am going to yield my time and happy to answer any questions, any comments, or for that matter, any concerns or complaints anyone may have.
All right,
Thank you.
Patrick, do you have a question?
Yeah, for Representative Garcia. Regarding the lithium plant, you talked about how it will benefit the people in the Salton Sea area, and I was wondering how specific you can be on how that's going to benefit them, especially with the health issues around the Salton Sea still, with the air and the shrinking lake or the shrinking Salton Sea. I mean, I understand the economic benefits that it can bring to the area, but one of the big issues has been, will it benefit the lake itself from shrinking more, and the health issues that continue to plague the people that live around the Salton Sea. Can you be specific on how those things can help them?
Absolutely. A year ago, we established what is known as the Lithium Valley Commission, made up of local stakeholders, tribal representatives, environmental justice groups, and key state agencies, along with private sector folks. And the idea behind that was to establish a blueprint on how to prioritize what's important for the community residents that live in and around the Salton Sea. And one of the things that's been elevated to the top is how do we ensure that any recovery of this mineral is assessed in a manner in which those funds go back into a community benefit fund that will have priorities set that will be reinvested back into Salton Sea mitigation, that will be invested into other priorities that the community set, such as public health air quality problems, housing issues, developing pathways to educational opportunities that could lead to the STEM area of jobs and industries. And we have 2 particular proposals, one from San Diego State that will establish a campus that will educate the next set of engineers, geologists, and other types of individuals that are needed for this industry. The other is a significant workforce development investment, working with our labor trades to establish the apprenticeship programs, both in the CTE programs, career tech education in the K through 12, and establish actual sites in Imperial County that are labor trained for purposes of facilitating the jobs that will go there. So to answer your question even more specifically, we want to recover a royalty fee and a tax on the recovery of lithium and other potential minerals out there that will go back into Salton Sea mitigation and restoration problems and all the other things that I just mentioned that have been talked about in the Lithium Valley Commission for over a year. One thing to note that comes up quite frequently, the lithium recovery technology that is being proposed to be used would present one of the cleanest, most environmentally sound ways of recovering any mineral in the world. And that's why there is such a large amount of attention on the issue in our area. It aligns with the global goals of transitioning to electrification of our transportation system and less dependency on foreign oil. This has become a issue that is looked at as a national defense issue. And it's also looked at as the future of clean technology and economic development opportunities. The idea around the Salton Sea isn't just to recover lithium, it's to establish an entire ecosystem, a supply chain for all things that require lithium, and hopefully attract a number of different ancillary types of job opportunities for the region, improving all aspects of the living conditions of the folks who live in and around the Salton Sea and in Imperial County. And we've been leading this effort at the state capitol with my colleagues that are in the Transportation Committee, the Natural Resources Committee, and members of our community who have had an opportunity to chime in directly and set some rail guards to the type of public policy that will likely move forward to get this off the ground.
Thank you so much, Assemblyman. Appreciate your time. And once again, as with the others, we are here to support you in any way we can to reassure your reelection. So thank you. We have 4 more speakers left, and I want to express my appreciation for the patience of the remaining speakers and the patience of our members. I'm moving this along as quickly as I can. We have 2, actually, they're all 4 are county-wide seats. There are 1 supervisor, district attorney, and 2 judges. So I'm going to take those. We have a sitting judge who is now running for district attorney, Bert Strumsky. Bert, are you here? He was here a minute ago. Well, all right, I'll move on to the next one. Denny Antoinette Manzingo, are you here?
I am, Stephen. How are you?
Yes. Hi, Denny.
How are you?
I am well, thank you. You are running for supervisor.
I am for District 5.
Yes, could you talk to us a little bit about your campaign and how it's going? And
I certainly will. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to come and considering me for an endorsement. I really appreciate it. I'm running in the county for supervisor in the 5th district. And the reason is far too long our district has been under the cloud of repeated scandal. Jeff Hewitt, the incumbent, has had the opportunity to alleviate many of the problems and concerns raised by our fellow residents, but he hasn't. Actually, he's refused. We need a supervisor who will listen to what the community needs, not to impose his beliefs. And please believe me, I think you all know I'm here and I do listen and I do fight for our people. Elected officials don't get a free pass. They need to pay their bills, their taxes, just as we do. Now, some of you may wonder why I've jumped in this race so late. As you know, we had district lines and we did not know what supervisory district we would be in until the end of December. And a lot of you know, I did have breast cancer and I went through all of the treatments. I'm cancer-free and I've been released to get out there. So that is one of the reasons, or the second reason why I'm running. I want you to consider the fact that this is a new district and I would like to be with Manny to help get some of the things that need to be done in our county. And he's out there by himself, so to speak. And I'll get in there and help him and fight with him. Riverside County is the 5th or the 4th largest county in our state. And we need resources. We need a candidate that will sit up and fight for us. And I've been a Democrat in this area, as you know, excuse me, for quite a while. And I'm certainly not taking this campaign or the contributions or endorsements from the very agencies that the board will be overseeing. And I really want you to understand that. You see, I'm a longtime resident. I've witnessed the rise of our diverse communities in the fourth largest district. And it's about time that women, people of color, the lower socioeconomic class, the working class, and also the middle classes listen to. The time of oppression and assault is over. As an attorney, I've been representing chronically underrepresented people their entire lives. I've helped them, I've worked with them so that they can experience better possible life possible. I'm really nervous and I don't know why, because I know most of you.
Well, let me help you out. I have a question that's a
Yeah,
very
let's go
important.
that way because I'm nervous. Okay, and you know I'm not like this.
No, I first want to make a comment that your contest is important because as we said not too long ago, it's very important to get more Democrats on the Board of Supervisors. Right now, you're right. Supervisor Perez is alone, and in order to implement some of the policies that are important. My question has to do with one specific issue facing the Board of Supervisors. If you are elected or when you are elected, will you take action to initiate a oversight body of some kind for the Sheriff's Department, which is presently completely out of control, in my opinion?
I cannot believe you said that. That
Well,
was where I was
I'll be
going.
glad to say it again.
Yes, absolutely. That's the reason I will not take endorsements or money from those organizations, especially the sheriffs. As you know, there's no honesty, there's no transparency, and there's no integrity there. And we need to pull them in. And if the only way we can do it is with an oversight committee to kind of judge this man and pull him back, then we will do that. I will fight, and I'm sure Manny will work with me.
Yes, I'm sure. All right, if anyone else has any questions for Denny? Who does? I have to flip screens here. Yes, there's Steve Brooks waving his hand. Steve?
Hi, Denny.
Hi, Steve, how are you?
Hey, could you describe the 5th district for me? Because I mean, all these districts changed around and everything. And I guess I should be more up to speed on the boundaries of the 5th district supervisors, but could you tell me about it?
Surely. Thank you. You've relaxed me. It's Moreno Valley, Paris, and I'm going to do the main cities. Hemet, San Jacinto, Beaumont, Banning, basically the pass. I would be right next to, Manny Perez. As you know, I have campaigned in Beaumont, the pass, and Hemet and San Jacinto. Moreno Valley and Paris are new to me. That's where we're focusing right now, as of December 28th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to try to move it along. Denny, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate you coming here and we support your election.
I will put my webpage and my email address in the chat. And thank you very much, Steve.
You're very welcome. Next, we have someone who wants to move from one countywide elected seat to another countywide elected seat, and that's Judge Burke Strumsky. He is a sitting judge right now, and he wants to be the district attorney. Judge Strumsky, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate being here today, and good afternoon, fellow Dems. I won't take too much of your time, and I think I've talked to many of you before, but I'm really honored to be included in today's meeting. So I'm Burke Strumsky. I'm currently a Superior Court judge. I'm running for Riverside County District Attorney in the June election. And I will hopefully be the first Democratic DA in the county and also the first countywide elected Democrat. So that's critical for a lot of reasons, including future endorsements from law enforcement. So I am a lifelong Democrat and the only Democrat in the district attorney's race. As we all know, the incumbent Mike Hestrin is a staunch Republican. So I've been in the race for a little over 2 months now, and I'm really honored to be endorsed by Congressman Mark Takano, Members Cervantes and Medina, Mayors Tim Sheridan, Mayor Banny Mayor Pro Tem Colleen Wallace, former Palm Springs Mayor Jeff Coors, Mayor Christy Holstage, IE United, the IE Labor Council, Stonewall Democrats, Planned Parenthood, as well as a litany of other Democratic leaders in Riverside County. My background is I served as a prosecutor for 15 years and a judge for the last 5. And as a judge, I've quite literally had a front row seat to tremendous injustices and fairness and effectiveness of this district attorney's office. I believe that Riverside County needs a district attorney who always prioritizes public safety, but who also understands the scales of justice balance only when criminal cases are handled with compassion, clear-eyed realism, fairness, and respect for the human dignity of every victim and every defendant. So I'm tremendously honored to be here. Happy to answer any questions if there's time.
I have one question, which is a different version of what I asked Denny, which is if you are elected district attorney, how would you deal with the, I guess I described it, out of control sheriff's office that we presently have? I know as a lawyer, I understand the respective turf areas and power. But I remember a speech you gave where you said as a judge, you have far less power than a district attorney, because I remember part of that of what you said. So be interested to hear your comments on the sheriff's office and what you would do to try to bring it more in line with, I'll call them democratic values.
Well, an important question to be sure. Many people probably know here that the district attorney, not the sheriff, is the chief law enforcement officer of the county. And the reason for that is the district attorney is responsible for civilian oversight. We still live in a world where civilian oversight is critical. Right now, the fundamental conflict we have is both the sheriff and the district attorney are both elected primarily from campaign contributions from law enforcement unions. Now, the district attorney, of course, has mandated criminal oversight over the sheriff's department. In any other legal scenario, this would be a very troubling and stark conflict of interest, but it's allowed here. And we have already a situation where the attorney general has had to come in and prosecute a case that the district attorney has refused to prosecute. And we really want to keep our oversight local. We really don't want to depend on Sacramento to do our civilian oversight for us. So most critically, I will come in without any bias, without any no dependence, of course, on law enforcement unions. I'm not taking any contributions from them. And I think that will start off and allow everybody to see that no one is above the law, because I think in a very practical sense, the public needs to have confidence that law enforcement officers will be held responsible for proven misconduct. And that just isn't a sentiment that they currently have. They don't have that confidence. And I think that makes it very, very difficult for police officers to do their job, for district attorneys to get convictions, and ultimately to seek justice on an equal plane for all people.
Thank you. I'm going to take one more question because we have 2 judge candidates waiting. Marcy, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge. It's good to see you again. I have one quick sentence and a question. My quick sentence is, I have never in my life heard of a district attorney and his office that needed an arsenal of weapons that our district attorney seems to have. So that's BS. My question for you is, I'm very interested in youth offenders and making sure that they have the opportunities to have productive lives. And from my understanding, this particular district attorney really hasn't done anything to help youth. So I'd like to kind of know where that is and where your plan would be.
Well, that's a terrific question. I spent most of my career in the DA's office prosecuting crimes against children. And The best assignment I think I had as a judge was being a juvenile court judge. Many of you probably now know that Riverside County imprisons children at a rate 2.5 times the state average. We're one of the leaders in prosecuting children as adults, yet we have no comprehensive juvenile diversion program. Frankly, as a former juvenile judge and child advocate, including creating a charity to help abused and neglected children, that just breaks my heart and really doesn't make any sense. We need to fix that immediately. We need to focus on rehabilitation and restorative justice, and that's something that I will make as my one of my chief priorities as district attorney.
Judge Drumkey, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
We're honored to have you. We have 2 more judicial candidates, and then we have to actually vote on our slates. So please be patient and hang around for the vote. Next, I'm going to have a candidate for seat 28 on the Superior Court bench, Francisco Navarro. You've been very patient. Hello, how are you? Nice to see you. We spoke on the phone, but we didn't look at each other. So I'm going to give you a chance here to speak a little bit about yourself and your campaign.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I am running for judicial seat 28. It is a countywide election. It's first in June 7th. I am facing 2 other candidates. So there is the possibility that it could go into November. Obviously, I'm polling for June, but I am, even though it's a nonpartisan position, I am a lifelong Democrat. I can tell you about my background. My lead, my primary, person that I'm going up against is a Republican. She's getting a lot of support from Republican groups. She's probably outraising me 2 to 1 easily. So I definitely will be asking for your support and your endorsement. But a little bit about me, like I said, I am a lifelong Democrat. So is everybody in my family. I come from 2 immigrant parents that worked very hard, became citizens, worked factory jobs almost their entire life, and have given me this opportunity to go to school, make something of myself. I've been an attorney now for 15 plus years from the same district attorney's office that Judge Strunsky once worked for. What I'm hoping to bring to the bench is diversity, experience, and most importantly, understanding. I grew up poor. I had my own issues as far as, I had a speech impediment. I didn't know English when I first started school. I've had even, hearing issues. So I understand people who have to deal with, a lot that's being stacked against them. And I definitely feel that now as I'm running this campaign. But I definitely feel that I embody a lot of our democratic platforms and values. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep trying and work very hard to win this election, hopefully with your help. But I definitely feel good so far with where we're going. I have the support of over 20 judges. I think I'm up to like 21 now. I have the support of a lot of elected officials, including Assemblymember Eduardo Garcia. I got to speak to him a couple of weeks ago, and we had a very strikingly similar background. So it was amazing to speak to him and get his support and endorsement. And I'll be asking the same for you. I provided all my information there in the chat. And I know we're trying to keep this short. So if anybody has any questions for me, I would love to answer them.
Thank you, Francisco, for especially for your patience. You've had to sit through a lot of stuff here to get your time. So I very much appreciate that. I'm going to take 1 or 2 questions. If anybody has any questions, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any. I just want to express that we do support you. We'd like to see you on the bench. Particularly, I think your background, speaking as a lawyer with 50 years of trial experience, I think your background really will bring some empathy and insight into some of the circumstances that a lot of judges that I've been in front of don't have. So I
did want to include one more thing, Mr. Jaffe, before I left. I would be remiss if I didn't tell everybody some exciting news. My wife was just appointed by Governor Newsom to be on the bench. So we're trying to be, probably the first Latino husband and wife team on the bench. So that happened about 3:30 or so on Friday. So that was some very exciting news. That's Valerie Navarro. If you check the governor's website, you'll see her
Wow.
beautiful picture on the site.
Well, you guys will have a lot to talk about at the dinner table, I think. So, well, congratulations again to your wife. If nobody has any more questions, I want to move to the last judicial candidate. Laura Garcia, you are here. I see you. Could you take a few minutes to describe what your campaign's about and talk a little bit about yourself to us, please?
Yes, thank you, everyone. My name is Laura Garcia, and I am running for judicial seat number 11, so not at all an opponent to Mr. Navarro there. There are 4 judicial seats that are open right now in our county, and the one I'm running for is out of Riverside. But to clarify it, the presiding judge can send us to sit in any courthouse throughout the county. I am currently a Riverside County Superior Court Commissioner, so I actually sit on the bench already. I was elected by the judges of the Riverside County Superior Court after a pretty extensive vetting process to sit, and I have been sitting in a misdemeanor criminal court since October. And when a judicial seat came open, I decided to throw my name in there as well and begin my very first campaign process. So this is a new and exciting experience. Some background on myself. I'm actually from the desert. I grew up in the city of Coachella. I am a graduate there from Coachella Valley High School. My parents still reside there. They came to the Coachella Valley as farm workers with their parents when they were young, and raised myself and my 2 sisters there. I graduated high school, went off to the University of Redlands, and for a desert girl, many of you may understand, going an hour away was almost as if I was moving to the other side of the world. But I progressed from there, went off to law school, and then came back to the county. I worked as a public defender for 13 years, primarily in Indio, until I relocated to our Riverside office and worked there in our complex litigation unit. I handled homicide cases, life cases. While I was in Indio, though, I was the sole juvenile public defender, actually handled cases before Judge Strunsky when he was sitting there in the juvenile court, and did that and received a wealth of experience of really seeing the impact of our criminal justice system on our youth and our children, and the rehabilitation that was so critical to them at that point. I am running at this point for a judicial seat in hopes of adding to diversity. At this point now, as I sit as a commissioner, I'm only one of 3 Hispanic women that sits on the bench. And so I'm hoping to bring more diversity as a sitting judge on that bench. And not just diversity in culture, but in experience and work experience, life experience that I think is critical to our judicial system. I think that an important strength that we need to make sure we're continuing to build on and give to the community is that they can have faith and confidence in our justice system, that it is equal and fair to anyone that walks through the doors of our courthouses across this county. And more so in more realms than just criminal. I think everyone kind of thinks of criminal when they think of the justice system, but there's so many other areas that impacts all of our residents of this county, whether it be family, civil, probate, and juvenile. So it's important that we have a judicial officers that come from all walks of life, all life experiences, all cultures, so that our bench reflects the community that we serve. And that is what I think is a critical aspect that I want to continue contributing to. And again, like I said, bring more of my experience to that, so that we are hearing everyone that walks in, that we are honoring the victims of crimes that come through there. And so that, again, we're just giving that equal access to all that come in, so that whatever decisions come from the bench, our community can feel confident that the fairest, the most just decision was done. So I hope to get your endorsement and your support, and I am open to any questions that you may have.
Well, I will see if there's any questions in a minute, but I just want to emphasize so people understand that as a commissioner, a sitting commissioner, you are in essence, a de facto judge. A commissioner is, or sometimes called judge pro tem, but they do everything that a superior court judge does. And they try cases, I mean, everything I can tell you. So that really enhances, in my mind, as a lawyer, your credentials to be the superior court judge. So
thank you.
Patrick, you have a question?
Yeah, I do. My sense is a lot of the issues, especially with juvenile court and society in general when it comes to crime, start early in the home with how children are raised. And the topic of abuse has changed over time, what that means as far as abuse of children and neglect of children. And many times these children go on to emulate what they grew up with, because that's all they know, and may get in trouble with the law, or may also go on to raise their children in abusive manners and create just continuing problems for them and possibly for society. And we know this already. I mean, we know this from, you know, science and behavioral people and therapists. Why hasn't our public school system dealt with this in, let's say, in the high school where kids are taught healthy parenting skills to help break that line of abuse, which tends to go from generation to generation, and maybe go into crime too. It seems like by the time these defendants or juveniles get to you, it's too late to make any changes in their life. Why aren't we working on making some of those changes through parenting classes, let's say, in high school or even elementary school, as far as that goes?
That might be a question that might be more appropriate for a Board of Education candidate than a judicial candidate. If either Francisco or Laura want to comment very briefly, because we need to take a vote. If you want to comment on Patrick's question, go ahead.
I agree that I think that there is other areas that start well before the judicial branch gets involved in those situations that are outside our control or our involvement. But as far as the juvenile court system, it is set up initially to be a form of rehabilitation rather than what like adult court would be set up for. So I know that is a focus of the judicial court, that branch of it. So they do take into consideration a lot of areas as far as history and of juveniles and support services that can be done. So, but as far as what is done before, right, that is a different realm that is separate from what we do at this point. Not that it is not a very valid concern, for sure.
Francisco, you want to?
Yeah,
contribute?
The only thing I would add is that in my experience, it's early intervention, because you're absolutely right that it does start in the home and it does start early. I can tell you that I've been mentoring at-risk kids at an elementary school for the last 8 years. And it's dealing with those types of situations where hopefully, you know, you can't fix every issue in the home, but you could be there to hear them out. You can hear them to give them guidance and, you know, show them that, hey, look, this is, you know, it's a tough situation you're going through, but there's better ways to handle it, you know, and hopefully just to be there to support them. Because you're right. I think that's where you fix it. You fix it earlier, you know, as early as possible, hopefully deal with whatever issues you can at home. But I think that's the only thing you can do. And that hopefully you can, you know, cut that revolving cycle of violence and, you know, bad parenting.
Francisco and Laura, thank you so much for coming.
Thank
we
you.
we are pleased to endorse both of your candidacies and look forward to working with you towards your election. Thank you so much. To everybody who's remaining, the members, I want to thank you for your patience. It's been a lot of stuff we've crammed into in this meeting, but I will say it's been extremely informative, I believe, for everybody here. So at this point, is there anybody who needs me to once again read the list of proposed endorsements before we take a vote on it? It's also been posted in the chat for the entire meeting, and it's also been on all the notices that you've gotten. So unless somebody wants a rereading of that, I'm going to submit. There's two steps here. The first list is the list of people who have previously been endorsed by the CDP, the state party, to which we have to add one more, which is Alex Padilla for the US Senate. He was also endorsed by the state party, so he should be added to that. If I want the vote to be Democratic with a little d and completely transparent. So everybody who is in favor of endorsing the candidates who have already been endorsed by the state party for our own local and statewide, countywide and statewide elections, would you please do the hand raise here? And either you can raise your hand on the photo, or you can raise your cyber hand. Okay, thank you. And my next question is there anyone opposed to endorsing this slate of people? Please also raise your hand. Unraise your hand if you did it automatically. Ellie, I don't think you mean to have your hand raised. You're not opposed.
No, I don't. I lowered it, but apparently
Oh.
it didn't work. Let me try that again.
There we go. I don't see any opposition, so it's an endorsement by acclamation. Thank you. The next ones are the people who have been recommended by the endorsement committee, and I am going to take 30 seconds because there's not a lot of them to read this one so you all know who I'm talking about. They are Supervisor Manny Perez, Will Rollins for CD 41, Denny Antoinette Manzingo for Riverside County Supervisor District 5, Judge Bert Strumsky for Riverside DA, Commissioner Laura Garcia for Judicial Seat 11, Elizabeth Romero for the Riverside County Board of Education, Trustee Area 6, and Francisco Navarro for Riverside County Superior Court, Seat 28. Once again, if you are in favor of endorsing this slate of candidates, please raise your hand in the video or on the screen. Thank you. Please lower it. And I'll ask the other side of the coin here. Is there anyone opposed to endorsing this slate of recommended candidates? Mary, is it?
It's a mistake.
Okay. Once again, it appears
I see Melissa there, but yeah.
I don't believe Melissa is opposed.
Okay.
No, she's not. All right. So once again, we're going to record this as a vote by acclamation. Ellie, you wanted to say a few things before we close. This is a longer than usual meeting, but it's been a very good one. So
Which
Ellie,
is why I put it in the chat. So thank you anyway. I know it's been a
Okay.
long meeting, so it's in the chat.
all
Thank
right,
you.
I just have one more 30-second comment here, and that is I've been asked about what our club can do about, for lack of a better phrase, what's going on in the Ukraine. Somebody wants to know, are we holding protests? I'm not sure there's a place or an audience for a protest. I'm not sure to whom we would protest, but there are things we can do. I can look into fundraising to help refugees. I can look into passing a resolution that could go up the chain through the state party or even the national party. But our president, Biden, has so strongly come out supporting the Ukrainian people and President Zelensky. I really think that a resolution may be preaching to the choir, but I'm love to hear from anybody if they have any ideas about how we can do that. Ellie and Patrick, yes, please.
Yeah, very quickly at the headquarters, we have a list of where you can donate. These are legitimate donation locations. We have that list at DHQ.
Thank you. Patrick?
Yeah, last I read, Chevron has not cut their funding from Russia. They're still working with Russia oil refineries and stuff. So I personally am going to be boycotting Chevron gas stations, which I think are too expensive anyway. And that would be a consideration to protest in front of Chevron gas stations to boycott them because they're still supporting Russia.
Good point. Melissa, are you waving your hand or?
Yeah. Hi, sorry, but I had an announcement about an event we're going to go to in about half an hour. Can I just do that real quick?
Sure.
Okay. Our fabulous AG Rob Bonta is going to be appearing over in Palm Springs at the home of our amazing mayor, Lisa Middleton. And I wanted to let everyone know that the ticket price has been reduced to $100. And the time has changed to 4 p.m. He will be speaking between 5 and 5:30. It's a great opportunity to meet.
I have the invitation on that for Monday.
No, it's today. It's
They moved it because I've already contributed to this for today, for Monday, the 28th at 5 p.m.
I have the same. I have the same, and I haven't been notified. I already made my.
I was not notified of a change of it today.
Okay, well, I had it for 4 o'clock, so I better tell the LG that she's going to the wrong place. So I'll coordinate with the campaign. Good thing, because we were just.
I would like to personally know if Rob's going to be down here, because I would probably attend. So if it really is Monday, can somebody let me know?
Yeah, I'm going to call Lisa right now.
Okay. All right.
Oh, okay, well, I'm glad I did that. I was texting Lisa, I didn't hear back. So I just arranged for the LG to go, so I better unarrange for that. Okay.
Well, she might enjoy her time with Lisa anyway, but.
Yeah, except that
Yeah.
she might not even be home. So
Right.
I had the time change. I did not have the date change. I'm so glad Ellie I'm so glad I announced it, but thank you.
All right. All right, unless anybody has any pressing or urgent business.
Oh, and yes, he is really going to be there on Monday then.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and tomorrow we're having an amazing event for Eleni Kounalakis, and that's at her home in Palm Springs. And I'll put my email in the chat if anyone would like additional information. That's going to be delightful. And I know several of the folks here are going to be there too. I've got it, huh?
All right.
Stephen?
Okay, so it's 4:30 on Monday. Gotcha.
Right. Melissa,
Thanks,
would you
See you
please
then.
send me the invitation for the Bonta affair?
Doing it right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Robert?
I just talked to Lisa. It's 4:30 on Monday.
Robert?
How will we be communicating our endorsement list to every registered Democrat?
Well, I'm sorry. Well, we're gonna prepare an announcement and we're gonna blast it out to all of the members. And we're gonna send it out to pretty much everybody that we think would have an interest. The Riverside Democratic County Central Committee, KDEM, the newspaper, anybody else that will have an interest.
All the campaigns will have it, right?
Yes, oh, yes.
So
And
Will
anyone who,
Collins can share it with his people.
Hello, it's Ellie.
well, not only that, anybody who gets the
Yeah.
announcement is free to disseminate it. It's a public, anyone who gets it is free to disseminate it anytime they want as well. So, or anywhere, I should say. Okay.
Stephen,
Yes, Marcy.
When we send that out, can we, especially to all of our members and our own email list and so forth, can we make sure that it's not only the names, but that the campaign websites go with that? So people can sign up to volunteer or give money or just know more about the
Yes,
candidates?
Susan will add the websites to that.
Great, thank you, Susan.
Okay.
Stephen,
Yes, Robert. You're breaking up, Robert. You're muted. Yeah, still unmute. That's what I did. Okay.
I'm unmuted now.
Okay. Go ahead.
Will Ellie be holding phone banking or text banking affairs at headquarters where we would be calling and texting Democrats about our endorsements before June?
Yeah, well, we're planning to, we won't be able to do anything in the office because we're still having COVID restrictions and we're being very knowledgeable, but very, very concerned with those. What we are going to do, however, which is what we're doing right now, there's approximately 7,000 people in the Coachella Valley who are not registered to vote, but they live with someone who is registered to vote. So we're in the process of doing postcards to get word out to those people. If you're interested, we've got the addresses, the names, and the postcards available at headquarters. The other thing that we're going to be doing is working with the campaigns to do texting and postcards. Phone banks really don't go over that well anymore. So we're going to be doing more texting and more postcards. Yes, in answer to your question, absolutely. The headquarters is going to be doing everything we possibly can to get this, our people, so to speak, elected. The good people. So yeah, in answer to your question, we absolutely will be doing stuff for sure.
Thank you.
And we'll get the word out to everybody through Progressive News.
Here's my assistant who's saying goodbye to everybody. This is Atticus. His name is Atticus, and he is a kind of cockatoo. So Atticus says goodbye, and we say thank you to everybody for attending and your patience and your democratic support. And I look forward to working with all of you to elect these candidates that we have endorsed. Thank you very much.
Great job, Stephen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
I'm out of breath. Thank you.